Welcome to a journey into the past, a voyage through the pages of time as we explore the realms of American Renaissance and Renaissance literature. Two distinct periods, yet both marked by remarkable literary accomplishments and profound cultural shifts. The American Renaissance, taking place between 1830 and the Civil War, was a time when literature truly began to reflect the spirit of democracy and the unique stylistic flair of the New World. It was the age of Emerson, Hawthorne, Melville, Thoreau, and Whitman, each contributing to the development of a distinctly American literary style. However, it was also a time when the voices of women and minority authors were often sidelined, a fact that modern scholars have worked hard to rectify by including diverse voices such as Emily Dickinson and an array of African American authors. Across the Atlantic and several centuries earlier, the European Renaissance saw the birth of a new intellectual and cultural movement. This era, influenced by the revival of classical antiquity and the advent of humanist philosophy, brought forth literary giants like Petrarch, Machiavelli, Cervantes, Shakespeare, and Erasmus. The invention of the printing press by Gutenberg in the 15th century facilitated the spread of Renaissance ideas, allowing authors to write in local vernacular languages and thus democratizing knowledge. The information we're discussing comes from Wikipedia, a platform known for its vast collection of user-generated content. We encourage you to check out the full articles on American Renaissance and Renaissance literature by following the links provided in the description. Buckle up as we delve into the minds of the authors who shaped these eras and their notable works. The American Renaissance, a period rich in literary contributions, spanned from 1830 to the Civil War. This era was intimately connected to American Romanticism and Transcendentalism, both of which played a significant role in shaping the literature of the time. The literature of the American Renaissance was unique, carving out its own style distinct from its European counterparts. One of the hallmarks of this period was the emphasis on democracy, a reflection of the burgeoning national identity of the United States. However, the American Renaissance was not without its criticisms. One of the most significant critiques involves the exclusion of women and minority authors from the recognized canon of the period. While the literature of the era was diverse in its themes and styles, the voices that were heard and celebrated were predominantly those of European American males. This exclusion has been a subject of much debate and discussion among scholars. In response to these criticisms, the canon has been expanded over time to include more diverse voices. One such voice is that of Emily Dickinson, a woman whose poetry has since been recognized as some of the most significant in American literature. Similarly, the works of African American authors have also gained recognition, adding to the richness and diversity of the period. In spite of these criticisms, the American Renaissance gave birth to some of the most remarkable authors in American literature. Ralph Waldo Emerson, Nathaniel Hawthorne, Herman Melville, Henry David Thoreau, and Walt Whitman. These names are synonymous with the period, and their works continue to be celebrated for their unique insights into the human condition and the American experience. The American Renaissance, despite its criticisms, birthed remarkable authors such as Ralph Waldo Emerson, Nathaniel Hawthorne, Herman Melville, Henry David Thoreau, and Walt Whitman. These authors and their works are testament to the vitality and richness of this era in American literature. Let's cross the Atlantic now to the cradle of the Renaissance in Europe. Here, literature was profoundly influenced by the intellectual and cultural movements of the time. The Renaissance was more than an artistic revolution. It was a seismic shift in thought, a rebirth of intellectual curiosity, and a revival of classical antiquity. At the heart of this change was humanist philosophy. This worldview placed an emphasis on human potential and achievement, moving away from the church-dominated mindset of the Middle Ages. Humanism encouraged writers to explore themes of individuality, self-expression, and the full range of human emotions. Renaissance literature was also shaped by the revival of classical antiquity. Writers were inspired by the works of ancient Greece and Rome, and these influences can be seen in the development of new literary genres and forms. They crafted sonnets and plays, essays and novels, drawing on classical forms while infusing them with contemporary relevance. The Renaissance saw the invention that forever changed the face of literature: the printing press. Developed by Johannes Gutenberg in the 15th century, it facilitated the spread of ideas like never before. Authors could now write in their local vernacular languages, making their works accessible to a larger audience and accelerating the spread of Renaissance thought. This period gave us a constellation of literary luminaries. The Italian scholar Petrarch, with his sonnets that fused earthly love with spiritual ascent. Niccolò Machiavelli, whose political treatise, The Prince, remains a reference for realpolitik. Miguel de Cervantes, who gave us the enduring tale of Don Quixote. The bard himself, William Shakespeare, whose plays and sonnets continue to captivate audiences worldwide. And Erasmus, whose writings advocated for a middle way between religious fervor and classical skepticism. Renaissance literature gave us luminaries like Petrarch, Machiavelli, Cervantes, Shakespeare, and Erasmus. These authors and their works are not just historical artifacts. They continue to shape our understanding of human nature, politics, love, and the world around us. Two different eras, two different continents, yet both periods have left indelible marks on the world of literature. Drawing parallels between the American Renaissance and the European Renaissance, it's evident that both periods were significant moments of cultural revitalization and intellectual growth. The American Renaissance, spanning from 1830 to the Civil War, was closely linked to American Romanticism and Transcendentalism. It emphasized democracy and the development of a unique American literary style. On the other hand, the European Renaissance was influenced by the intellectual and cultural movements of the time, characterized by humanist philosophy, classical antiquity revival, and the spread of printing. Despite their geographical and temporal differences, both periods shared an emphasis on human experience and individuality. However, their influences varied significantly. The American Renaissance was deeply rooted in the democratic ideals and social changes of the era, while the European Renaissance was inspired by a return to classical antiquity and the humanist philosophy. In terms of notable authors, the American Renaissance boasts names such as Ralph Waldo Emerson, Nathaniel Hawthorne, Herman Melville, Henry David Thoreau, and Walt Whitman. These authors crafted a unique American literary style, often focusing on themes of democracy, individualism, and nature. In contrast, the European Renaissance was home to writers like Petrarch, Machiavelli, Cervantes, Shakespeare, and Erasmus. These authors developed new literary genres and forms, often exploring themes of humanism, politics, and social commentary. Yet both periods faced criticisms. The American Renaissance was critiqued for its exclusion of women and minority authors, and its focus on a limited group of European American male writers. Over time, scholars have expanded the canon to include diverse voices like Emily Dickinson and African American authors. The European Renaissance, while celebrated for its contributions to literature, varied in impact across regions, with Italy being the earliest center of Renaissance literature. Despite the differences in time and place, both periods have significantly shaped the literary landscape as we know it today. From the New World to the Old, literature has always been a reflection of the times. As we conclude our discussion, let's take a moment to revisit the main points we've explored about both American Renaissance and Renaissance literature. These two periods, though separated by ocean and centuries, both represent significant evolutions in literary thought and expression. The American Renaissance, stretching from the 1830s to the Civil War, marked a distinct shift towards a uniquely American literary style. This period, closely associated with American Romanticism and Transcendentalism, emphasized democracy and a breakaway from traditional European influences. Notable authors such as Ralph Waldo Emerson, Nathaniel Hawthorne, Herman Melville, Henry David Thoreau, and Walt Whitman left indelible marks on the literary landscape during this time. Across the Atlantic and back a few centuries, Renaissance literature in Europe was experiencing its own revolution. Influenced by the intellectual and cultural movements of the Renaissance, this period saw a resurgence of humanist philosophy and a revival of classical antiquity. The advent of the printing press facilitated the spread of these Renaissance ideas, and authors like Petrarch, Machiavelli, Cervantes, Shakespeare, and Erasmus contributed to the development of new literary genres and forms. While these two periods differ in many ways, they both represent critical shifts in literary thought and expression. We encourage you to delve deeper into the works of these notable authors. Their writings not only offer a glimpse into the world as it was in their time, but also continue to resonate with readers today. Our journey doesn't end here. The links provided in the description box below offer more detailed insights into both the American Renaissance and Renaissance literature. We extend our thanks to Wikipedia for the valuable information that helped shape this discussion. Remember to check the links in the description for more details. Thank you for joining us on this literary journey. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us create more content just like this. Until next time, keep reading and exploring the fascinating world of literature.